Right.
You have open bottles on the dance floor.
People get in a fight. People puking on their table.
Exactly.
And stuff. Yeah. Welcome to the On the Edge podcast with your host, Scott Groves. Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Scott Groves here with my new friend from, not surprisingly, 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, where I seem to meet all of my friends up here in Vegas, Dante Valle, LV. You're going to want to write that down because by the end of this podcast, you're going to want to follow Dante Valle, V-A-L-L-E, LV, as in Las Vegas, because this is the guy you want to know if you want to go to the cool spots in Vegas. It's so funny. We had rolled a couple times at Jiu-Jitsu, and I know you usually work at the one out downtown. I work out at the one in Henderson. And then I was walking through the Resorts World or the Wynn or something, and there you were at like 11 o'clock in a suit, like handing out these things. I was like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And I'm like, oh, he's a host. I'm like, this is the guy you want to know in Vegas if you want to go somewhere. So first of all, I think it's called a host, but you put people into clubs. You're like the guy that manages the nightlife. So tell us in a nutshell what your job is, because as we were talking before we got started, it's like your family came from Cuba, Texas to Glendale. So the funny thing is we both grew up in Glendale, California. Right. Never ran into each other, although your family does own a sandwich shop that Chris and I both love. Shout out to your family's sandwich shop. I don't know if you want to mention it.
Shout out to Mario's Italian Deli.
Mario's Italian Deli.
My first job.
There you go. And then you move to Vegas, you go to UNLV, and you get into the hospitality space. So go from there. Tell us what you actually do for the Wynn Group.
So when you work at a nightclub, aside from bussers and bartenders and servers, there's really two positions. You have your host and you have your promoter. Now I work as a promoter. A promoter's job is to fill the club with girls, guys, what we call guest list. So there's two types of people that go to a nightclub. You have your guest list, which is your regular, usually like a couple, usually young 20s, your regular, your GA/general admission crowd, and you have your VIP clients, the ballers, the athletes, the rich people who want to buy tables and ball out. So promoters mostly focus on guest lists, which is filling up the club with most people, filling up the dance floor, making sure it looks packed. So when you're a VIP and you're a big baller and you come to the club is jumping and it looks good and it looks more appetizing.
So who are the poor people standing in line all night waiting to get in for 3 hours? Is that the GA group or who is this?
That's the GA group, yes.
The general admission.
So I shouldn't say poor people, but it's just people.
I don't mean poor as in like financially poor. I mean these poor people are these poor souls, not like financially poor.
Right.
They're standing there for 2 hours and you're just like, oh, this poor buggard has like a horrible life right now. His girlfriend hates him.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely ways around it, but it's those experiences. You can still have a great time, like that. And it's not, there's this big misconception that it's 2 hours to get in, 3 hours to get in every single night. That's really not how it works.
Got it.
So when you're, especially during the week, right now, it's wintertime, it's towards the end of February, you're going to have like a little bit long wait times, maybe like 30 minutes to go see somebody like the Chainsmokers, Diplo, Tiesto. It's not bad right now. The problem, what everybody sees and what everybody thinks of is when it's Memorial Day weekend, Calvin Harris is playing Encore Beach Club Saturday day, and that's when it's absurd. Now, you can always buy tickets. You can always buy a table. I always tell people the best way to go is to purchase a table. Of course, that's not possible for everybody, and I understand that. So you have your guest list, which is available. And you got to think, if cover, for example, is $75 for a guy and $50 for a girl, you can pay that for one event. It's not the end of the world. But if you have, 4 people with you and you want to go out Friday, Saturday day, Saturday night, Sunday day, Sunday night, and you pay $70 and $50 each night, that adds up to be a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I usually recommend, if you're here on a busy weekend and you're a mixed group, you're a group of guys, you can purchase your tickets for Saturday daytime, but Friday night, Sunday day, it's usually not as bad. And I like to kind of balance it out. So I don't like to have my groups wait in line, 2-3 hours. It makes.
So wait, tell me about this. So I've always seen like, oh, we're on the guest list, right? And then I've seen this happen in real time. Like somebody walks up to the front to the bouncer, like they're a big deal, and they're like, "Hey man, I'm on the guest list," and they're like, "Cool, yeah, get in this line with these other 400 people." It's like, wait a minute, I thought I was on a list. I thought I bought like tickets where I could just walk in. So like, how does that? Well, specifically, let's talk about you work at the Wynn specifically, right? And the Wynn has a different setup than everywhere else, right?
So before I get into that, I'll finish telling you what a host is and what the difference is between a promoter and a host.
Yeah.
So a host's main job is to bring in table clients. Now, a promoter can be a host, but a host rarely can be a promoter. once you're a host, you kind of turn off looking for guest lists. You're only looking for VIP clients. But as a promoter, I book both. So whether you're a group of college girls coming down, you're in a sorority, I can handle that. Or if you're a little bit older, you got some more money, you want to buy tables, we go the same way. Now, I get paid when people show up and they say, hey, I'm here. I'm on the guest list. I'm here with Dante. Boom, they check it off. That's how I get paid. Hosts get paid a percentage of what they sell. It's kind of like selling houses. You get a commission for.
So is like a host like a senior promoter? Like one day you'll move from promoter to host theoretically?
Correct.
Okay.
So the problem is, I shouldn't say problem. The challenge you have if you're a host and you have no experience in nightlife, your job is to sell tables to wealthy individuals. Yeah. Let's say you're 23, 24, you just finished college. What if you don't know any wealthy individuals? It's really hard. You know what I mean? So eventually I'm going to become a host. I kind of want to climb the nightlife ladder. So you start as a promoter because it's a great way to meet so many people. Right. And it's a great way to meet table clients. They'll pop up. And it's kind of like the warm up. It's kind of like when you go to jiu-jitsu class, you're not just going to show up and just do the advanced class. Right. You got to do the all levels of beginner's class to get your feet wet. And then eventually over time, the advanced class is I don't want to say easy, but you can kind of ease into it a lot more.
So I got to imagine like your most valuable thing is your database and your phone, right? Because if somebody drops 10 grand on a table one time, you want to keep in touch with that person every time they come 100%. To Vegas.
And what I found out is that people with the most money are usually the most generous. So people like that, and I have so much respect for people that come out to the city and they trust me because most people, they're not in Vegas every single weekend. They're here a couple times. It's their bachelor party. They want to make sure everything goes right. So when people trust in me and to make their 1 weekend a year, their 2 weekends a year as special as possible, that means a lot. You know what I mean? So I always try to go like above and beyond for those people. So I try to hold those people near and dear. And it's crazy. I do so much for the people. They're the ones that come out here. They're the ones that spend the money. They're the ones that do it all. And they think that I'm the rock star. They think that I'm the cool guy. Right. You know what I mean? When I just kind of set everything up and they're the ones doing it, they're thanking me. They're like, man, this wouldn't have been possible without you. When they're the ones here, they're the ones spending, they're the ones going crazy. Right, I feel so, it's almost like crazy. It's like, you're thanking me, I'm thanking you. You know what I mean? It's
right. I don't have a job without you, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So when you're a promoter, like, when I saw you, you were just kind of approaching groups of people and like striking up a conversation. Like to me, it's like cold calls, like cold sales, right?
100%.
Is that what you're doing? Like, are you just going around the Wynn and just talking to groups of people and be like, hey man, you guys want to come out tonight? You want to get on the guest list? Like what is your hustle, I guess is what I would say.
So there's a couple of different things. So when you first start off, obviously, so there's two places that most people promote. There's on the strip, which if you go tomorrow, you drive down to the strip, you park, you walk down, you're going to see promoters handing out flyers. You have promoting on the strip and you have promoting in the hotel. Obviously, people are going to trust you a lot more when you promote in the hotel. You're in a suit. I'm standing in front of the nightclub. If I wasn't supposed to be here, security already would have removed me for soliciting. So most promoters start in the hotel and you kind of like rotate. You'll have one shift in the hotel, and usually the more experienced and the higher performing promoters will work in the hotel. It's kind of like a reward. You have the most valuable shift, right? So yeah, when you're promoting guest lists, the good thing about working at the Wynn is that everybody's somebody. I'll get into that in a second. But I usually just go around and I'll have flyers. This Friday, we got the chain smokers. So I'll have a flyer say, hey, how's it going? Do you guys want to check out the nightclub for free tonight? I'll put your name on the guest list. You have, 2 hours, 2.5 hours to show up. You go in, you have a good time. Awesome. And you get it for free. And it's kind of like a perk of running into me and my lead retention, or my lead retention is good. I'll text you. I have an electronic business card. Yeah. I'll try to follow you on Instagram. I'll text you the next day. When we're in summer, it's really nice because you can meet somebody, for example, Friday afternoon. They go out Friday night. I'm going to text you in the morning. Okay, you want to go to a pool party Saturday day? Right. Okay, you want to take a nap and go to a different club Saturday night? So that's really valuable when you can get somebody once and then you can kind of hit them over and over. Same thing with locals. Yeah. Same thing with people from LA that are here all the time. Or, for example, girls in sororities. Who's the target demographic that wants to go to a club? Young, attractive woman. Right. The sororities are filled with hundreds of them. So SDSU, Arizona State, San Diego State, a lot of the nearby party schools are great feeders for business because you meet one girl and she's like, hey, me and 86 of my friends are coming down for spring break. What's going on? Can you help? Right. You know what I mean? So the good thing about working at the Wynn is that their average hotel room price is up there. Right. So I'll use normal hotel, usually like $100 to $300, maybe $400 for a room on the weekend. If you're at the Wynn during summer, it's usually $500 and up.
Right.
So if you're trying to sell a table, usually tables on the weekend will start at $2,000. I'll get into that and everything and break it down. I know it sounds ridiculous.
Not at all.
But for most people, it's $2,000. So when you're paying $500, $600, $700, $800, $900 for a room, $2,000 for a night out between six or seven of your friends, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
But when you're pitching that to a place that doesn't have the same kind of like barrier of entry as a room cost, then it's a little bit harder.
Yeah, you can't go over to Treasure Island where they're giving away rooms for $89 a night.
Exactly.
And talk to somebody, no offense, in a NASCAR T-shirt who's like, yeah, I'll drop $5,000 tonight to go to a club. It's not. Exactly. It's a different demographic.
Exactly.
And I'm not shaming that demographic.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Because I've been in that demographic where it's like, hey guys, we're not going to club. We're going to fucking trash can nachos and $2 Modelo's.
Right.
Because that's what we can afford right now. And then other times, season of life has been good, and we get 10 guys to go drop 10 grand for some table or something. And
you enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a blast.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with either. But when you're selling, there's only a finite amount of tables we can sell. You know what I mean?
Right.
You want to be, and you want to have your time optimized. So if I'm in the place where most of the party people hang out, that's good for me.
Yeah.
And another part of nightlife and promotions is obviously connections. Like I said, you meet one person, they pass you on to another and another and another and another. Social media. If you think I'm in a hotel, I'm promoting to you. I'm promoting to one person, right? If I do that with 100 people, I promoted 100 times.
Right.
So I did the same thing 100 times and I talked to 100 people. I can make a short form video content. I can make an Instagram post and I can do it one time and I can appeal to thousands of people.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier that way.
Right.
So you have social media, and I try to tell people it's not only one thing. It's not just promoting. It's not just going to the hotel. It's not just posting on social media. It's everything.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with jiu-jitsu, same thing with grappling. Just showing up, I mean, you might be all right, but if you go home, you watch tutorials, you watch instructionals, you go out to competitions on the weekend and you watch, you study, you travel to other schools, you're going to progress a lot faster.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
You know what I love is I've been following you on Instagram now for a while, and I love your tutorial approach, right? Like this is the classic Gary Vaynerchuk, his book, Jab, 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 Right Hook, where it's like you're giving value, you're giving education, you're basically making the novice club goer not feel stupid by not knowing the ropes. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, oh, and by the way, if you want to spend money, give me a call, right? So like, I really love the way you're setting up your video content and your reels and stuff. Like it's just pretty cool, man.
Thank you.
So I want to know, because like you said, if it's Friday night, Thursday night on a winter when it's not real crowded here and there's chain smokers, a table might be $2,000. If it's the middle of summer and Tiesto's followed by somebody followed by Dead Mouse, whatever, table might be $10,000. So like that variable cost, do you get like a text message every morning of like, hey, here's what table's going for? Or do you guys have like a secret portal where you can see what the rates are on all the stuff and then you have to just go out and sell that rate? Or are like you kind of negotiating on behalf of the client to the club?
So the thing, especially with the Wynn doesn't do discounts. Mm-hmm. So they know, especially in summertime, it's going to sell out. The best way, and I'll say this again, the best way to get a table for the best price is to book it in advance. Because if you come to the door, I'm going to use it again, for example, it's EDC weekend. Diplo's playing Encore Beach Club.
Explain to people what EDC weekend is, because if you don't live in Vegas, they don't. The listeners might not know that that's a fucking shit show.
Right. So Electric Daisy Carnival is a gigantic music festival. It's the biggest one in North America. It comes here once a year, and there's about 200 to 250,000 people, all party goers, all lovers of electronic music. Everybody's here. Everybody's looking to party. Whether it's EDC weekend, it's a holiday weekend. You have. Bear with me. I completely just spaced. I'm so sorry.
EDC weekend.
Right before that.
Cost for the clubs. Like, do you get a list of the costs?
Yeah. Okay. So we have a big Google sheet that has that has all the pricing on it.
Nice.
So I believe right now it's updated to late May. So if somebody hits me up, hey, I'm coming out mid-April. Can you get me a quote? Boom, here you go. So when you have, like I said, we have a finite amount. So if we'll use EDC week for an example, EDC is May 17th, 18th, and 19th. So we're a couple months out. So everything is basically available. Right. It's the same thing, regular supply and demand. Well, a day bed might be $3,000. And as we get closer, there's only 2 left. It's going to go up to $5,000 or $6,000 because they know somebody's going to pay it. You know? And the annoying thing is you think sometimes you might want to come in late and grab a deal when something's open. If it's Saturday daytime and you show up and you have a budget of $3,000, you might get stuck with, hey, we have a cabana left at $8,000. And you're like, well, we can't do it. Okay, now get in the back of the line. Oh. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you're taking a big gamble there. And I tell people it's always best to book it in advance. You have your deposit secured. Nobody's going to take your table. You're good to go, because there's no worse feeling than showing up to the door thinking you're going to get a certain deal and you show up and it's something different. You know what I mean? Or you get screwed, or the prices are a lot higher, or what will happen is I'll quote somebody for a day bed for $3,000, and then they're like, hey, you know what? We'll think about it. And I say, look, if you're really serious about it, 20% deposit, $500-$600 now is going to save you $2,000 to $3,000 down the line. You know, so you show up in the day bed that was $3,000 to $4,000 is $5,000 or $6,000. I'm like, look, I'm sorry. I try to tell you. You know what I mean? I try to get on it ahead of time. Guest list is a different thing. You can really wait till week of, because it's just a simple entry of your name. Yeah. There's no price. Right. So that's the same. But if you're going to buy a table, like with everything, it's best that you plan ahead. What percentage of people that buy tables are guys versus girls? This is a really good question. I would say 75 to 80% are guys. Well, there's also couples. Right. If the best demographic. Why would you bring sand to the beach? Like, I love my wife, but if I'm going to a beach club, I'm not taking my wife. Like, no offense. I'm there to look at something else. I probably just got canceled by all my friends and all the women that listen to the show. But my wife doesn't listen to the podcast, luckily. But it's just, that seems weird to me that a couple, like if you're a couple, like I'll go hang out at the adults pool and have a drink with my wife. I don't need to go to the like clubbing fucking rah shit. So I'll tell you why. Because if you're a group of 8 guys and you're buying alcohol for 8 guys, that's not going to work, because what's going to happen? Let's say you invite girls over. Now you have 8 guys and 8 girls. Now you have to pay for 8 guys and 8 girls. Do you see the difference there? Got it. So now you're effectively doubled. Let me ask you, let's say you're talking to a couple girls and your alcohol runs out and they say, hey, are you going to get another bottle? And you say no, what do you think they're going to do? Yeah, they're peace out. See ya. You know what I mean? So going as a couple not only is a lot of fun, because number one, you already have secured who you're going to go home with, which is awesome. Yeah. But you don't have to spend extra money on girls that you're not going to see 20, 30 minutes later. Right. You know what I mean? And having that person there, or even if it's just a group of friends, it doesn't have to be couples. You guys all graduated from college at the same time and you guys want to come down and splash a little cash. That's great too. But bachelorettes usually, I recommend, it's kind of hard to sell a table to all girls, because usually a group of all girls who are having a good time, who are, looking super fancy, can get invited to a table by those guys and it can be free. Right. You know what I mean? But if it's your if it's your bachelorette, I recommend buying your own table, because you're not going to have to deal with any guys. Right. Buy your own alcohol. You have your own space. And when you buy a table, you have your own security. Yeah. So it's like, you have your own real estate. You have this own little bubble where it's you and your girls, and nobody else is coming in there. Nobody is messing with you. And girls love to go to the club and dance, especially by themselves. I know a lot of girls, they don't like guys messing with them. So you get your own table, you get your own space, and it's yours. And you look like the boss. You can be there all night, and no man can really tell you what to do. I love it, awesome. Dude. I love it. What's funny is I don't know if you know the history or the evolution of the day club, because when I'm 40, I'll be 44 by the time this podcast comes out. When I was coming out here in my 20s, there was no such thing as a day club. It was all nightclubs, and it was like, you'd go play some poker in the day or go have a meal, if you brought a girl or something. But then it was like, all right, fuck, okay, I'm already feeling old in my 20s. I got to start getting ready around 10, go to the club at 11, get in at midnight, party till 4:30 in the morning. And now I love it, dude. It's like, wait, I can start partying at 11 a.m. and be done by 4 and awesome. So drunk I don't have to go out at night. It's awesome. So I don't know if the insurance changed or some smart entrepreneur just woke up and it was like, holy shit, we're missing out on daytime money. But that evolution of the day club, I don't know if you know when it started or where it started. Oh yeah. So like, how did that come about? Because this idea of like a club during the day is effectively a newer phenomenon in Vegas. So the good thing about day clubs is that nightclubs you can have anywhere, right? But day clubs, you need proper weather and you need the proper infrastructure to have it. So the two places in America that really kill it on the day club scene is Miami and Vegas. Yeah. So you can go to a nightclub anywhere and you can have a good time. But to go to a real deal, like big baller 5-star pool party, it's got to be here in Miami. So how it started, I believe Rehab at the Hard Rock was the first ever day club, and that's kind of how they spun it. It's like, oh, are you feeling sick? Come Rehab, come sit by the pool, come party. And it kind of evolved into this thing. And the thing about nightclubs is that everybody's dark, and it sometimes can be hard to see, especially towards the later of the evening. Yeah, you have a few drinks. But the day club, everything is open, everything is bright, and everybody can see and everybody can be seen. So I think part of part of the mystique is that you're going to see everybody's there. And like you said, you can go, by the way, day clubs sell food, nightclubs do not.
Right.
So you can show up without having breakfast. You can have lunch. You can have drinks. You can get hammered. You can see your favorite DJ. You can be home in bed asleep by 6 o'clock. Yeah. That's awesome.
Dude, that's my jam
It's
right
awesome.
there. Yeah.
It's great. So the way that the Rehab, they didn't really have any big headliners in the Wynn. So basically most of how nightlife goes, Wynn usually, I might be a little biased, when they kind of start the trend. So I believe Cascade, I actually just watched another podcast on this. Cascade was the first ever resident artist, and the way that they wanted it was he was going to play once a week from, I believe, Memorial Day to another holiday weekend. And it was kind of like the cross between sitting by the pool and relaxing and going hard. And he was the first ever DJ to play by the pool, and everybody thought it would be okay. But the first weekend came about, and it was this massive DJ in Las Vegas during the daytime. It was 5,500 people, and he played at Encore Beach Club. So that's at capacity, 5,000-6,000 people outside just dying to get in. And
they just printed money that weekend.
Just printed. And it's one of those things where it's like, wow, like it's kind of like when Conor kind of came onto the scene, Conor McGregor, and he had those first couple knockouts, and Dana White's kind of like turned into his people and is like, yeah, I think we got something here. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's the same thing. It's like that, like eyes open, boom. And when you have something like that, you only have a couple months before everybody tries really hard to copy it. Now basically every hotel has a day club.
Right.
You know? And I think they do a really good job. They don't hold you, nightclubs don't hold you too late. Most of the time the headliners will be off at 3. I know that is late, right. But there aren't too many after hour spots here. So you finish at 3, hopefully you go home, you rest, and you get up and you go back to the day club.
Yeah.
But it kind of like transformed from this place that was rehab with loud music to kind of going up and up. And then now we have big DJs. And then now you have day clubs at every single hotel. And I'm excited to see where the next thing will go. And the good thing about Vegas is that the infrastructure is so nicely built. Well, we were talking about LA, everything's so far apart.
Right.
The strip is 3.5 to 4 miles long.
Right.
So wherever you want to go, it's not more than 15 minutes away.
Right.
Everything is close by. And if you're staying in the hotel, the day club, you can just walk from your hotel to it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Very, very few places have that infrastructure built in. You know what
so
I mean?
One of the things that I hate about every other hotel except for the Encore or the Wynn, and you alluded to this earlier, if you stay at MGM and you're like, hey man, I want to go down to, what's the club there? Hakkasan. I want to go down to Hakkasan, or I want to get some reservations to a restaurant. What a lot of people don't know is everything in every other casino except for the Wynn is just leased out. So like the Omnia at Caesar's Palace is not owned by Caesar's Palace. It's owned by some other club group. And then they just rent that space for probably $1 million a month or something. Uh-huh. And Omnia has a club in there hosted by Caesar's hotel or his Caesar's Casino Group. Uh-huh. The Wynn actually, they own Encore and Excess, right?
Correct.
Like that's their group. So I know my casino host, for example, at the Wynn, which I'm embarrassed I have a casino host at the Wynn. He's like, hey man, do you want to get a couple of tickets to the show, or do you want to go to this club, or do you want to comp dinner at the steakhouse? Because it's all owned by the Wynn. Mm-hmm. It's not just leased out to these weird third parties. So can you talk a little bit about, because I know you've worked, with different clubs and you have friends at different clubs. Mm-hmm. What's the benefit at working at the Wynn, where the Wynn group actually owns the club, which is a rarity in Vegas?
Right. So the big thing is that they have a lot more money. So you don't have to pay. Omnia, I can't even think about how much square footage that is in a prime location. Like you said, it's got to be millions of dollars. The Wynn doesn't have to pay any of that. Right. So their comp budget is a lot higher. They're able to take care of their guests more. They're able to spend more. And the good thing about the Wynn, for example, their like sister restaurant, I guess you could say, Casa Playa, they host events there too, and it's now kind of like the pregame spot. You go have a couple drinks, and guess what? It's conveniently located right next to EBC, right next to XS. So they're able to have more money, and their marketing is a lot higher, and they're able to have more integration from like establishment to establishment, from restaurant to club, which is awesome. Yeah.
So I'm thinking for you, what time does the day club like kick off? Like if I want to be the first one at the pool, ordering some food right as the music kicks on. What time is that? 10 a.m., 11 a.m., noon?
Friday, Sunday at noon. Saturday, 11 a.m. So if you're coming out here, day clubs are really only open 3 days. If you're going to go to a day club Thursday or Monday, I recommend you just go to your hotel pool. It's going to be much cheaper. No big DJs, aside from a holiday weekend, will play Thursday through Monday. It's your local resident DJ.
Right.
Friday is the day that most people are getting to town, and it's kind of slow. It's the slowest of the 3.
Right.
Saturday, everybody's in town. Everybody got in last night. Everybody leaves Sunday. everybody's ready to go. Saturday is when you have your A-list talent every single Saturday.
Yeah.
Steve Aoki, Martin Garrix, David Guetta, et cetera, TSO every Saturday. Sunday is the second busiest day. I love going to the day club Sunday because it's that perfect mix between super busy and a lot of fun and dead, right? Because if you go Saturday day, every good day club is going to sell out. It's going to be at capacity. And for some people, especially people who aren't used to it or part of the older demographic, are not going to love that. You know what I mean? That shoulder to shoulder crazy.
Yeah, shoulder to shoulder.
It's a bit much.
When it takes like an hour for me to get my waitress to bring me a drink, I'm like, what the fuck am I paying for?
It's a lot. So Sunday, I love it. And there's still great talent booked on Sundays, especially if you have a holiday weekend. It's going to be great.
Yeah. So I'm thinking for you, if day club started at 11 noon, that means you're sending out texts at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning to get people in the door. Then you're working all day. Then the nightclub kicks off at 10 or 11 at night. Then you got to get people in the door for that. Then you're probably around till what? 1, 2, 3, 4 in the morning. When the fuck do you sleep, bro?
So this is how I've kind of messed around with a bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
So Friday, the day club is kind of slow. I usually send out we call them reminder rollover texts around like 10 or 11 o'clock. Like, yo, day club doors are going to open in an hour. Get your makeup on, slowly head over. No rush. You're free till 3 o'clock. So I'll give a little.
So that's if you're on the guest list, like you're good till 3 o'clock.
Okay. So the way guest lists work for day clubs, 11 or 12 opening, you're usually free till 3 o'clock. That is when the headliners come on. The headliner will play from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. And then the opening DJ will go back on and close around 6.
Got it.
Another pro tip, if you're going to do day club and nightclub, as soon as the headlining DJ goes off, leave. Go back to your hotel, get some food from your hotel, take a nap so you can wake up, shower, and get ready. Because if you wait till 6 o'clock, then you go back to your hotel and then you shower, change. It's already going to be 8:30, 9 o'clock.
You're not going out.
You're either not going to go out or you're going to miss your dinner reservation. You're going to miss your show reservation. You're going to be late to the club. So as soon as they're off at 5 o'clock, get out of there, go home. So you have until 3 o'clock on Saturdays, busy days. It might be until 2 or 1:30. It's always subject to change. And then I'll usually bump some people around 1:30. Hey, just want to make sure you're still coming. Boom. And then they're all good. Usually around 5:36, I'll go home and take a nap, and then I'll get ready for the night. You know, I send out my reminder text for the nightclub around 7:30, 8:30. Hey, just so you guys know, everything's good as scheduled. This is what time the doors open. This is what time you're free till. This is what time I recommend you show up at. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm here. I'm there all night. And then you're out till 1 or 2, entertaining, hosting, working, and then you wake up. A good thing that I've been doing sometimes is I'll send out my rollover text at like 3 a.m. Obviously, most people won't be awake, but when you wake up, it's the first thing you look at on your phone.
Got it. So you can sleep from like 3 to 7, 3 to 8, something like that?
Yeah, and then same thing. I know, it's brutal.
So from Memorial Day to Labor Day weekend, like middle of May till September, you're just going hard in the paint.
Yeah, so the thing when you work in nightlife is, so when I say this to everybody, when you work in nightlife, you don't work a 9 to 5. You trade in working a 9 to 5 to work 24/7. So let's say you're a lawyer or you buy houses. If you want to buy a house, is somebody going to call you at Saturday, 3 a.m., 4 a.m.?
No.
Who do you think they're calling at that time?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when it's summer, when it's Tuesday or Wednesday, hey, I'm going to be in town this weekend. What do you got? So I always try to have everybody squared away during the week. So when the weekend comes and everybody's in town, then I can handle them. You know what I mean? So you kind of work 24/7. It's part of the job. The work-life balance is kind of tough. Sometimes that's why I like martial arts, because it forces me to put my phone away and I'm in the moment.
Yeah, you can't think about your text messages when there's a 200-pound guy trying to break your neck.
Exactly.
Right. So that's wild, man, because there's obviously clubs open during the slow time, but the busy time's got to be Memorial Day to Labor Day, right? Like you said, the pools open in March.
Right.
They start bumping in like April or May, and then you're jam-packed till October.
So, yeah, so right now we're in winter season. There's no pools open.
Right.
So I usually will be like working Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but we don't have any pools open, and there aren't any like day clubs open really. So I don't have too much to do during the day.
Right.
It's more at the night when it gets busy, which is nice because a lot of the time some people will go to the day club, rookies or people who don't come out here a lot, and they'll get way too hammered and they don't make it to the nightclub.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So then you lose out on that commission.
Yeah. But they showed up for the pool, so it's okay.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But you have the people that come to a day club. I've been starting to get a lot of business in for day clubs now that we're around the corner. It's like, hey, I land a Friday at 11 a.m. We want to go out Friday day. We want to go out Friday night, Saturday day, Saturday night, Sunday day, Sunday night, and we leave Monday at 6 a.m. I'm like, all right, let's do it. Those kind of people, and they do it.
Yeah.
You know, you're here, you save up X amount of money. You know, this is what you've been saving up for 6-7 months. Do it. That's why I tell people, like, we don't judge. Las Vegas is a great city to people watch in, but we don't judge. You know what I mean?
Right. For sure.
If you are someone who likes going to the day club or just likes to people watch, I always recommend, I'm a big fan of doing this. Most day clubs have a restaurant at/nearby the exit. Grab a slice of pizza or some tacos around 5 to 6 o'clock and sit there and watch. Man.
Dude, the most fun I used to ever have is when the Wynn poker room was actually in the Wynn, and it was right in between the hotel, where the club exit, and the self-park garage, right? So you would get the locals coming through the garage. You would get the vacation stayers coming through like the food court or, you know, whatever. They had some food in the hotel rooms. And then there was the pool, right? And I remember sitting there from like 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. and just being like, 10, 10, 9, hooker, 10, 9, 8. I was like, that girl's friend should have told her to wear a cover up, 10, 9, hooker. And like the dealer would always look behind me and be like, dude, how are you so good at picking out hookers? I'm like, I don't know. If you're still walking in your heels, if you're still walking in your heels at 3:30 in the morning and you've got a little overnight bag, like you're not showing up to the casino at 3:30 in the morning looking all prim and proper, walking in heels.
And going up to men and talking to them.
Yeah.
That's the big tell is when you kind of see them walking around. But some people, they leave the day club, they don't have shoes. They don't have their bag. They're losing their cover up. They don't have their friends. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Security's there, like trying to like help them, you know. But they're a lost cause. But you're right. You see the tens. You're like, wow. You know, it's great. And then you see the people. It's like, man, what's going on? You know.
Right.
Or some people, like when you do the cleanup, you see shoes, bags, T-shirts. It's like, this is just a regular party, man. What the hell were you guys doing in here? You know. But some people, if you don't have a table, sometimes keeping track of your stuff can be hard because you don't have your own real estate. In my opinion, the best part about bottle service is you have your own real estate. You have your own place to sit. Yeah. It's yours. Nobody's going to fuck with it. You have cabinets where you can open up. You can put all your stuff in there and it's good. If you're GA, most of the time, standing room only, good luck. You know what I mean? So pack light.
Yeah. So when you talked about like 5,500 people capacity at Encore, somewhere around there, 5,000, what percentage of people are sitting at real estate they paid for versus peeing in the pool, elbow to elbow, trying to find some real estate, trying to hustle some guy for a drink? So like what percentage of the square footage or the personnel is like paid VIP, they got a table? Is that like 100 people, 1,000 people versus like the other GA people?
So let's do the math here. So I'll use Zouk Nightclub, for example. I believe they have around 77 to 80 tables. Okay. Average is 8 to 10 people per.
Okay.
That's
so
800.
Like 800, 900 people, something like that.
Their capacity, I believe, is 2,900. So
okay, like so about a third. A third is VIP and 2/3 are GA.
Now, that third makes up for a lot more than just a third in overall revenue for the club.
They've got to be 80% of the revenue, right? So yeah.
But that revenue would not be spent without the guest list people, because if you're at a day club and there's nobody there, nobody's gonna spend money. So it kind of works with each other.
Like if I'm a group of guys, right, and we just paid, $5-10 grand for a table, like we want to see a bunch of girls at. We want to see a bunch of gorgeous girls walking around that can come sit at the table. Like that's the whole reason people pay the money.
And the girls know this, and you see so much content on social media. It's almost like a game of like, what can these girls do? What can these girls get away with? Oh, I got in the booth. I got, to this table. It's like, just go out there and have a good time, Right. Just enjoy yourself.
So let's talk about, Encore specifically, or XS. Is that the nightclub?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's like all right, somebody's coming into town. They want to have a good time, but they're kind of baller on a budget. Right. But maybe they want to have some real estate, but they're like, dude, I don't want to break the bank and max out the Amex. And then what's like the real crazy baller package?
So I'll give you the breakdown.
Okay.
So we'll say average starting is $2 to $3 grand for 6 people.
Okay.
So we'll do, after tax and gratuity, we'll say $3,500.
Okay.
$3,500 divided by 6 people, I believe, is like
$700.
700?
Yeah. No, 600. $600 each.
Okay. So 600 people, we'll use a day club, for example, Encore Beach Club, Saturday day, $600. That includes your food, your alcohol, your security, your line skip, and your place to sit. And most people, when you check in for a table at a nightclub, at a day club, you check in around noon and you leave around 5:30 to 6 o'clock.
So it's about $100 an hour to have an awesome time.
About $100 an hour. Now, you can go to a steakhouse and you can get a piece of meat for $100, $150. I don't think that $3,500 is horrible. And that price, like I said, is inclusive of everything. So if you don't know how tables work here, you agree to a table minimum. So you go to the nightclub and you say, hey, my table minimum is going to be $3,000. I am saying I'm going to agree to spend $3,000. In exchange, you're going to give me this table. You're going to give me a separate VIP line to walk in. You're going to give me a host who's there to handle any needs. And you're going to give me security in the most important part, or one of the most important parts, is your own server.
Yeah.
You don't want to keep walking to the bar.
Right.
And especially if you're a group of guys trying to get girls, having your own real estate and having your kind of like home base is super valuable.
Right.
So that's a big part of it. $100 an hour, $600 total for and this is not like, this is to see Tiesto, Chainsmokers. This is at the lower end. For a big ticket act like that, $600 in Las Vegas for, 6 hours, I don't think it's terrible.
Right. Especially since most people that come to Vegas, like, this is their Super Bowl. It's once every 2 years, once a year. This is not like, all right, you're blowing $600 every weekend to see a DJ. No, it's ridiculous. But like, you can't do that living here. Exactly. But if you're coming to Vegas once every 2 years, or you're coming for a bachelor party and this is your Super Bowl, it feels like, doing this 2 or 3 times over a weekend and you drop a couple grand each doesn't sound like the end of the world.
Right. Now, I usually compare it to the Super Bowl. Do you think you can get a Super Bowl ticket for $600?
No.
No.
I looked. They were like $3,900 for nosebleeds.
Does that come with food, alcohol on your own server?
No.
No. What about Adele? The biggest concert in Las Vegas at the time.
Bro.
$1,000?
No.
$1,200?
No.
More. Yeah.
I looked for tickets for Adele when she canceled her show because like she was mad at the union for not wearing masks or whatever the hell she was mad at. And the cheapest tickets, face value, if you could have got them through the casino, were like $250. Resell on StubHub, cheapest one, $3,200 a ticket.
That doesn't come with food. That doesn't come with beverage. And it doesn't come with a supermodel giving you your drinks.
For $6,000, I'll buy a Klitsch surround sound, like the best, and I'll just buy the Adele album on iTunes. I'll be like, honey, we upgraded our sound system at the house. I'm ordering you a gourmet chef to come in and cook dinner, and we'll listen to both of her albums on repeat. Like, come on. I mean, those tickets were crazy expensive. So, yeah.
So when you think, okay, I live in Denver, Colorado. I'm going to go out to the bar for a couple drinks. I'm going to spend $100, whatever. And then you're like, hey, let's go to Vegas, $600. You're like, whoa. But when you sit down and think about it, I don't think it's personally the end of the world. If nightclubbing is your thing, if partying is your thing, if you've been wanting to see Steve Aoki for years, now's your chance. You see him once a week. Same deal with Adele, Super Bowl. It's really expensive. Spas.
Right.
Spas at the Wynn. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's expensive. For 6 hours, you're going to be in for more than $600.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you think when you're in Las Vegas, your time per hour is valuable. Most people, I would say, gamble a little bit more than $100 an hour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the same thing. So if it's worth it to you, obviously day clubs and nightclubs are not for everybody.
Right.
But if it's worth it to you, it's somebody that you want to see, it's your bachelor party, it's your bachelorette, then I say do it. If you live here and this is your weekend thing, no, I wouldn't recommend dropping $3-4 grand every single weekend.
I'm dropping like $40 to go see like a Beatles cover band at Green Valley.
Exactly.
And like, I'm going to get drunk with a bunch of old people singing Beatles songs.
Great.
And that's fun, right?
It's great.
And once every 2 years at a mortgage conference or something, we'll go hog wild with my buddies and we'll go to like Excess or something now that I know you work there.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that's like baller on a budget. What's the crazy shit? Like the Prince of Dubai comes in and wants to sit at the booth next to Tiesto and meet the DJ and have 5 waitresses bringing out, flaming bottles of Cristal. What's the crazy baller stuff that you've seen?
So the crazy baller things, usually on a busy night, a stage table, a dance floor table is like $10,000 to $15,000, which, that's a lot of money. So usually dance floor tables fit or stage tables, you can usually fit like 12 to 17, 18 people per there. After tax, you're probably in like $1,500, $2,000 a person.
Right.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But what clubs do, you have your bottle presentations, you have the access. And a lot of the times, the good thing about the dance floor table is that you're right next to the dance floor. So if you see somebody you like, you can pull them over. You're right in the middle of the action. It's awesome. And a good thing about when you have a dance floor table, when you have a stage, is who you're surrounded with. So as a promoter, I'm not spending $1,500, $2,000 a night. I don't have that kind of money. Right. But sometimes when I'm hosting a client, I'm put in that same area of those people who are ballers, whether it's a client that I'm talking to and you can kind of meet and network with, or it's the guy at the table next to you that compliments your shoes, and then you start a conversation. And this guy runs a weed farm in whatever state, and he every time he comes out here, he hooks you up. You know what I mean?
Right.
That kind of thing. So the good thing about that stuff for me is that I don't really have business talking to those people, but working in nightlife will put you in positions to talk to people that are a lot more important than I am.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. But back to what we were saying, the baller status, it doesn't have a ceiling, which is crazy. If you want, I have the Encore Beach Club bottle menu. I can read you some of the crazy presentations.
Oh, bro, give me some of that. This is crazy. I'm glad you brought this. So this is the creme de la creme. Somebody, because if you've never been to one of these crazy nightclubs, it's like if you order the most expensive bottle on the menu, they literally launch fireworks and they have 8 girls with like the poppers and the streamers and the little fireworks, and they're walking out and they put your name on a billboard. Yep. It's like the biggest ego trip.
It's ridiculous
that you've ever seen.
It's ridiculous. But for some people, you forget like $20,000 is like nothing.
Right. To me and you, it's a ton of money.
Yeah.
If you own a textile mill in India or you own a tech company in China or something, it would be the equivalent of you or I dropping, $500 a night or something like that.
It's crazy.
So this is like people, these are the ballers that have already spent 15 or 20 grand to have a table with their friends right next to Tiesto or Calvin Harris or Steve Aoki. And then they're buying these crazy bottles on top of that. So what are some of the nutso bottles?
So you have it's called a Jill in the box. It's basically this like light up box that they'll parade around the club, and there's a cocktail waitress inside holding a gigantic bottle of champagne. So
wait, there's a girl in the box.
In the box. So it's like a Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
But Jill. Of course, the girl has to be in there. So they'll parade it around. It's got a bunch of colors. Then everybody sees it. Then boom, they walk over to your table. They open it up and they pop the champagne. They don't spray it everywhere, but they open up the roof. She jumps out. She's shaking the bottle. You have the sparklers. Everybody's looking at you. Is it a little ridiculous? Is it corny? Yeah. Is it awesome to see? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You have. This is where stuff kind of gets a little ridiculous.
How much was that? The Jill in a box?
$4,000.
$4,000.
So that's like beginning presentation.
Right.
So you have where is it? So you have a Meet the DJ package, which is a Methuselah, which is a 6-liter bottle of champagne. So if you guys know what a handle, like a big handle of Tito's vodka, that's 1.75.
Yeah. So this
liters.
is like,
it's gigantic.
This is like the size of my torso.
Yeah. So when you buy champagne like that, it's impossible for you to drink it. You kind of just have to give it away.
Right.
So a lot of the times, if you have a $20,000 minimum and you have 10 guys and a bottle is $600-700, it's not physically possible to drink that much vodka. It's just not.
Right.
So if you're towards the end of the night and you're a couple,
I'm up for the challenge. If it's vodka,
we can always try.
I'm up for the challenge.
We can always try. It's not possible to drink all that in vodka or tequila, so you have to buy champagne. So what used to happen at Pure Nightclub is it used to be a bottle minimum. It doesn't matter what you spend, you got to buy 5 bottles. So 4 guys would come in and they would buy their 5 bottles, and then they would get absolutely trashed, and then they would be giving it out to everybody, and then it is a big mess.
Right.
You have open bottles on the dance floor.
People get in a fight. People puking on their table.
Exactly.
And stuff. Yeah.
So that's how you meet your large minimums, is by purchasing champagne. So you have a Meet the DJ package. You have your Methuselah of champagne, 25 bottles of House Bubbly, $50,000.
Whoa. So you just basically want to pour a glass of champagne for everybody in the club, because no group of 12 guys is drinking 25 bottles of champagne.
Right.
So they bring out 25 bottles of champagne to your table, and then all the girls and some of the guys probably know that it's a free-for-all where it's like, oh, go to their table for the free champagne because this guy's balling out of control. And that's $25,000?
That's 50. But
that's $50,000?
But you get a meet and greet with the DJ at the end of the set.
Dude, I don't want to be a professional DJ. There's nobody I want to meet that much.
I know, it's crazy.
Now, if you said Guns N' Roses were playing and I could meet Slash and Axl Rose, and you're like, all right, I would start thinking about be like, all right, let me get 15 crazy Guns N' Roses fans. We'll each put in $4,000 each. We'll get to meet the band. So I guess if you love a DJ as much as I love Guns N' Roses.
Some people's Guns N' Roses is TSO. Some people, you know what I'm saying?
$50,000.
That's usually corporate events, gigantic groups of people. You know what I mean? It's very rare that like 1 to 2. So what will happen is you'll have like a big group of ballers come to town. Like if you have a big convention, like the Concrete Convention was just here. Those guys,
Concrete Convention?
Yeah, it's at the Las Vegas Convention Center. Those guys got money, and it's a bunch of concrete guys. You know, they're in their 40s and their 50s. They're in Las Vegas. Maybe you got the company card. You know, maybe you got the end of year bonus. That's who's swiping on that.
Who knew that concrete was such a profitable business?
Man, it's huge. It's crazy. I thought the same way. I was like, concrete. I mean, what are these old guys going to do? No, they like to spend.
They balled.
Yeah.
All right. So is there anything higher than the $50,000 meet? That has to be the highest one, right? $50,000 meet the DJ package?
We got one more. So this one's a little bit crazy. So this one is $150,000. This is called the midlife crisis, right? So
no, this is called divorce.
Yeah. This is called, hey, is this you spending all this money?
Right. Right. Chase Bank is definitely calling you and being like, hey, XS just tried to run your card for 150 large.
Yeah. So you get a 6 liter of Dante, 30 bottles of House Bubbly. But the cool thing is the presentation that they bring it out on is a fully operational Harley Davidson, and they give you the Harley Davidson at the end of the day.
They give you the Harley.
Yeah, you can take it home with you.
30 G's.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So it's really
cool.
It's really 120 G's.
Yeah.
It's like there's some steakhouse. I can't remember what it was. Chris, maybe you can look this up. Poppy Steak, where like you buy this cocktail that's $20,000, but it comes with a Rolex.
So that's Carver Steak in Resorts World.
Carver Steak. Look that up, Chris. Are they still doing that where you can buy, it was like you buy this martini that's like gold flaked or whatever, and then they bring you like the Batman Rolex, which is really hard to get.
Yeah.
So that, I was like, oh, okay, now all of a sudden a $20,000 dinner sounds good if I walk out with a Rolex.
So it's kind of like, yeah, exactly. So the way that these bottle presentations, I know it's kind of hard to quantify. It's like when you're at a restaurant, when you're at a Mexican restaurant and someone orders fajitas. Nobody's really thinking of fajitas, and then they come out and you smell them and you see them and you're like, wow, that looks so good. I want some fajitas now. It's like the same thing. So what I referenced, Poppy Steak, they have $1,000 steak, and you order it. It comes out in this gigantic gold briefcase. They bring like a big speaker, sparklers, basically a bottle presentation at a restaurant. They open it up. They have a hot iron that they brand the steak with. It's an entire experience. Is it ridiculous? Is it over the top? Yeah, some people want that experience. Is it necessary? Of course not, but some people want it. You know what I mean? It's the same thing like with a Porsche. Like we live in Las Vegas, like we all are going to drive on the same roads if you have a Prius or a Porsche, but some people just like to have that Porsche. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and by the way, a $70,000 4-seater Tesla will wreck most Porsches that are like 120 grand. It's not till you get to like the GT, the GTR that, okay, those are fast as fuck. But here, let me light that bad boy up.
Thank you.
But the electric cars are so much faster than a naturally aspirated gas car. And so, I get it. But a Porsche is sexy as shit, right? Like nobody's getting laid in a Tesla Model Y or a Tesla 3. But if you're looking pretty fancy in your Porsche, maybe you're trying to peacock for something else.
That's what some people like, you know.
Oh my God, man. So I know, like promoter, you're trying to get people on the general guest list. Obviously, if you can score a table, that's big for you, and that kind of probably starts to elevate your resume to get to host. Do you mind if I ask like what people in your position can make, like what a good promoter and a good host can make? I mean, obviously you can't share the whole commission schedule with the Wynn, but like, is this like a $40,000 a year job? Can this be a $200,000 a year job? Like,
so the good thing about like most jobs, promoting is sales. So you have the top 5 to 10% that kill it, and everybody else is doing okay. I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed to be one of the higher performers, so I do quite well. I know some promoters, it's $40,000 a year, a little bit above minimum wage. I know some promoters that are $150,000, $200,000 a year. Hosting is really where your money gets crazy because the people that you're dealing with are extremely high value. And I know a lot of the hosts I know, their watches, they didn't pay for. Their hosts or their client got it for them as a gift. Or a big thing in hosting is if you provide, these high net worth individuals a consistent 5-star quality service over the course of years, they'll offer you a job, or they say, hey, I want you to come work for me. So a lot of people foray from working in nightlife to working for one of their clients. But these top dogs who are booking everything, like these hosts that have been at the Wynn for 10 years, who have been racking up business for years and years and years, they're banking. You know what I mean? And like I said, the ceiling is really endless, There's no cap. And I feel like nightlife is kind of like becoming more and more of a thing, especially after COVID, after the pandemic. Yeah. Vegas is back. You know what I mean? Las Vegas had its biggest year of gambling revenues after the pandemic. So
yeah, I was talking to the owner of the Monte Cristo Cigar Lounge over in the Caesars Palace, one of my favorite places to go. Shout out to the guys there. And I was talking to one of the managers, and it was probably June of last year. And I was like, hey man, are you guys making it now that COVID's over? Because they were having a hell of a time there, because like the mask regulations were changing daily, where they're like, if you want to take your mask off, you have to order food. Can you order $19 peanuts so we can say we're serving you food, so you can take the mask off and smoke? And then if you're at the bar, you had to do this to take the mask off. And then on this day, the rules changed, so you had to hang it off your ear. So like the place was empty. So I talked to them last June. I'm like, hey, are you guys doing okay? They're like, dude, we've had 4 months in a row of record-setting revenue, and not by a little, by a lot. Like, there's so much pent-up desire to party, and there's so much like money that was just sitting on the sidelines for 2 years. People are blowing money like you wouldn't believe. Like, guys that would be like $20, $25 stick smokes, they'll come in and they'll buy a fucking box for $2,700. And I'm like, whoa, good for you guys, man.
Well, since we both lived in Las Vegas, I know you said you moved. We kind of went back to things quickly, but you forget to realize that other places don't. So if you want your fix, for a long time, Las Vegas was the only place that you can come.
Right.
Or I believe Florida was. So if you're on the West Coast, especially if you're in LA, and you have all those restrictions, there's masks everywhere. Hey, Vegas is open, summer, it's pool season. Why don't you guys have a drink by the pool unmasked?
Yeah. What?
You know what I mean? And then boom, and then people started flocking. So
ironically,
ran.
We still have a house in LA. Ironically, I came up to LA to Vegas to stay here at our second house, and I got COVID the weekend I was up here because we did a club. We did Dave Chappelle where everybody was in in an arena coughing and laughing all over each other. So of course that's when I got COVID coming back from Vegas. But whatever, I lived. I'm generally healthy, so we're okay.
So Las Vegas, I think, is making a lot of strides to become better and better. Obviously, the number one thing is sports. Now that we have the Raiders here, I'm pretty sure we're going to get a baseball team, and we've got two massive events coming up. We have Formula One.
Dude, that's going to be a crazy week because Formula One fans are rich.
They got money. Formula One. And then we have Super Bowl, which is that next February. So if you were on social media for these past couple of weeks, you saw the Waste Management Open parlaying into the Super Bowl in Arizona. They did a great job. You know what I mean? But Las Vegas, when it's here next year, it's going to be absolutely absurd. So the revenue that we're going to make, just the experience that Las Vegas is going to provide for Formula One and the Super Bowl, I cannot wait for.
So I should buy a table now for Formula One and Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, it's pretty expensive. Even the rooms, you know, Cosmo, I think they're selling so like a lot of things in Las Vegas now, it's kind of like how it always has been. It's always your high rollers, your whales go first. So obviously Formula One, I would say, is probably the most coveted weekend of the year.
Right.
So if you're a high roller, this is when you want to come. So I believe about 75% of the Cosmo is booked out. It's blocked out. They're going to sell about 25% of the rooms. Cosmo is now MGM.
Right.
And the reason why I'm using Cosmo is because they're the only hotel on the strip that has balconies. So you can sit on the balcony and watch. And Cosmo is in the middle of the strip. They have towers that you can see to the left and to the right of the track. So it's the most valuable hotel to stay at. Caesar's Palace was also really valuable, but they're going to build bleachers on the water structure. What do you call it?
The whatever, the fountains.
The Bellagio fountains.
Yeah.
Jesus. They're going to build kind of like a mega structure over it, so it might be hard to see. But the Cosmo, obviously, if you're super high in there, it's going to be awesome. I think
Chris, you got to look this up, man. What are hotel rooms going for on the strip?
I think like $3-4 grand a night.
I looked it up like a month ago, and like the Travel Lodge was like $675 a night with a 3-night minimum,
which is normally $39.
Also,
exactly.
I looked up the Carver steak thing. It was $40 grand. It came with the Rolex, but they only sold one of them. It was more of a publicity stunt, and they took a loss.
Oh, I don't believe that because Rolexes are not 40 grand. But can you? I want to know. Look up Cosmo for the weekend that the Formula One race here is. See if you can find it.
That's
I'd be willing to guess it'd be $2,500 a night, something like that.
Easy. And the Cosmo is a super nice hotel as it is.
Right.
You know.
I remember I almost.
Do you happen to know the night?
October 17th, 18th, 19th. I think.
I remember I almost, when I was single, almost bought this package. It was like 10 G's when the Cosmo first opened. It was, you stay at the Cosmo, and you know, it's a bitch getting out to the racetrack where they have EDC. So this was like 1 year they had this, and I think they lost their permit. You would go to the roof of the Cosmo and take a helicopter to the back landing pad of EDC all 3 days. So it was like room and food for 3 days, and then a daily helicopter back and forth to EDC. I almost pulled the trigger.
You should have.
But yeah, I didn't. That would have been the craziest thing. You know what I think at the time? I didn't have a girlfriend that I really cared about. So I was like,
you gotta, if you're
I'm not gonna blow this money.
You gotta experience it with someone.
Yeah, exactly.
So on that note, the Wynn is doing $1 million package for Formula One. So
what?
$1 million package. Yeah. So it comes with, champagne, villa. You get to go on pit lane. They've got all the details. You can book it, if that's something that you're into. But yeah, it's $1 million. It's for like 15 people.
That would be all my net worth for 1 weekend.
Yeah, right?
It doesn't seem worth it.
Crazy.
Yeah, I saw something that the Resorts World was doing like an 888 package, where it was like $888,000. Same thing. You get to go to pit row. You get to ride in the pace car. You get the super suite at the top of the Resorts World. I mean, just nutso.
So when I try to explain this to people, when you're coming out here, I don't want to say the people you're competing with, but the people who are going to these clubs, it's not people from your hometown. It's not people from the city next to you. It's from everyone across the world.
Right.
So when you think, like, when you see these girls at the day club, you're like, man, where are all these hot girls coming from?
Right.
Like, they don't all live here. Some live in LA, some live in Miami. They're all coming in from across the world. It's like, damn, everybody has money. You know, when you look at all the spenders, it's like, well, no, not everybody lives here. Everybody here comes in from other places to spend the money. This is the ADCC. You know, when you enter your big boy jiu-jitsu tournament, and you get smoked, and you're like, where the hell are these guys from?
Yeah, all over the world.
All over the world. So when you have the cream of the crop, that's when things get a little bit absurd. And I'm sure somebody's going to buy that $1 million package. I'm sure.
That's so nuts. Crazy. I remember I was at the Wynn one night, and I was. You know, they have a high roller section, but if you're rich enough, they'll basically do anything. And so it was like a Tuesday night or whatever. I'm playing poker. This is when I was coming up here a lot in my 20s. And there's just some dude that's like probably in his 30s or 40s. You know, you could tell that he was wealthy, but he wasn't obnoxious. Like jeans, white button-up shirt, you know, nice watch, nice shoes, whatever. He had his own craps table, and there was a velvet rope all the way around it. And he's rolling craps. And I wouldn't play blackjack at the table next, so I'm like, hey, what's the story with this dude over here? He's like, well, I know for a fact, because sometimes I deal craps, I know his little JanSport backpack right there has about $1 million cash, and I know he has a $20 million line of credit with us. And I'm like, what did this kid do, or adult, but I felt like kid, what did this guy do in his 30s or 40s to have a line of credit to win for $20 million, which means his net worth has to be approaching $500 million or $1 billion, something like that. Like, who is this guy, right? He's and you know, the amount of wealth in Vegas is insane.
And not only
regarding the Formula One. Now I'm looking on Kayak, so pretty much nothing is available.
Yep.
Circus is $780 a night.
which Circus is like the dredges.
It's the worst hotel on the strip.
The Westgate, which is kind of on the track, is
hotel.
$11,540 per night.
Oh my God!
Wow.
And then the other one I saw, Circa, which is a nice casino, but nowhere near it.
It's downtown.
Is $3,200 a night. El Cortez is $550. That's a place you can get a suite for $47.
My goodness.
Oh my God! So the main strip casinos are either for VIPs only.
They're keeping it all in-house,
or it's going to be $20,000 a night.
So yeah. So two things on that. What you were saying about that guy playing that much a hand, I wonder his tolerance for gambling and like sensation is so high. Like, you really have to play that much money per hand to feel something.
Right.
Look, if I go to the blackjack table and I play $1 hand, I could care less. Right. But if I'm playing like $25 to $50 a hand, I'm like trying to play like I'm playing blackjack by the book. Right. So the fact that his number for him to spend to care about what he's making and losing is that high is ridiculous.
Right.
And another thing, these hotels, especially the nicer ones, do such a good job at, I don't want to say hiding the money, but there's so many things in nice hotels that you don't even know. Did you know that the Wynn has a Sky Casino on the top floor that only high rollers play at? Did you know that?
No.
Did you know that the MGM has a mansion right behind it that has its own entrance, and it's literally a mansion. You have to get invited to stay there.
No.
Yeah, these kind of things that you don't, if it's the public eye, you don't see it. It's not marked big entrance.
Right.
You can go to Las Vegas, you can stay in the same hotel, and you can have a completely different experience.
Right. Most people don't know that the Wynn has a private golf course right behind it on the property.
Yep.
I mean, because it's really well gated. You can't see it unless you stay on the back side of the rooms. I mean, it's a beautiful, world-class golf course that nobody knows about.
Yeah. Awesome.
We looked it up the other night. Like, if you can be invited, the green fees are $600 a round, which is like insane.
I don't play golf, but that's
Starting
like a
at
lot.
600.
Starting at 600. Yeah, that's probably for like a Tuesday horrible tee time. You want to golf on Saturday, it's probably $2,000 if you can get a tee time and if you're invited.
Well, that's
by the way, Cosmo, no balcony, no view, 4,746.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming everything's already booked up then?
Yeah, it's got to be.
It's got to be, right?
Yeah.
It's not on the third-party websites, but I'd assume that the hotels themselves are holding a chunk of rooms so
For the high
their
rollers.
loyal customers can call and get a room.
That's crazy, man.
And now restaurants are starting to do that too. You know, Carbone, excuse me. You know, like Carbone, Delilah, you know, calling to trying to make a reservation on a prime time on a weekend is getting harder and harder because it's already reserved for the high rollers. You know, it's tough, man. It's tough.
Yeah. So what if somebody comes into town and they're like, hey man, I love the Wynn, it's my favorite casino, but we want to venture out. Do you have like connections at all the other casinos to do swaps?
Of course. So I should have said this earlier. So if you guys are coming to Las Vegas, most promoters and hosts, we work against other venues, but we also work in contact. So if you hit me up and you want to come to the Wynn one night, or you don't want to come at all, you want to go to Omnia or Caesar's Palace or IU Marquee, I'm glad to set you up with someone over there. We all exchange business.
Nice.
So it's not like if you're not coming here, I'm not going to help you.
Right.
I'm sure if you're coming to Las Vegas, there's at least one thing I can help you with. And so the good thing about promotions and hosting is that you can do a little bit more. So like I have like a fleet of like party buses and limos. So if you're staying, let's say if you're staying at Cosmo or you're staying at South End, Mandalay Bay, and you want a limo to the Wynn, I can, get you a quote, put you in contact with the driver, something like that, which is super helpful. Yeah. So, somebody called me. I don't remember who it was, like a person of interest. So anybody that wants to come out here, if you want to book, and I can even get, in some cases I have a discounted hotel link that you can use. It is third party, get you discounted rates, which is awesome. But if you want to book a limo, a party bus, hotel, something like that, anything more than just nightclub, I can assist with that too.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So I know like XS and Encore are definitely in tier 1, probably right there with like Marquee and stuff. What are the tier 1 like clubs in Vegas right now? Because I know this is fluid, right?
I got it all down. So tier 1, there's 3 clubs. There's XS, there's Zook, and there's Omnia.
Where the fuck's Zook?
Zook is brand new. It's at Resorts World. That's probably it's probably why you haven't heard of it.
Yeah.
Zook is it's small, it's intimate, but the good thing about Zook is that every table you have is like basically right in the middle of the action, and it's great. It's super intimate. It's gorgeous. It's brand new. They have really good talent as well.
Nice.
They've been booking a lot of hip hop as well. I used to work at Resorts World. I have a lot of love for everybody over there. Omnia, if you've ever been, you know what I'm talking about. It's absolutely insane.
Amazing.
So they have the main room, they have the Heart Room, which is a hip hop room inside of the nightclub, and then they have the terrace. So if you come out here on a weekend, you can go to one nightclub and you can experience kind of like 3 different experiences.
I love Omnia.
Omnia's great.
That's
crazy.
That multi-million-dollar stage thing they have up in the sky that like
chandelier
tilts. Yeah, that weird chandelier that tilts and lights and blows cold air on you and shit. That thing's amazing. Like that's an engineering feat in itself.
When you live in Las Vegas, you kind of forget. You become desensitized to what all this stuff looks like, and I don't want to say you take it for granted, but you kind of like forget how extreme this is.
Yeah.
And then you talk to, Rebecca, who lives in Idaho, and she comes out here for a weekend, and I take her to Omnia nightclub, and she's like, what the hell is this place? You know what I mean? It's crazy. And every time I walk into those venues, I'm still like, wow, this is insane.
Chris, can you look up how much the chandelier at the Omnia club was to build? It had to be $5 million or something like that. All right. So tier 1 is Zook, Omnia, and XS.
Correct.
What's like tier 2?
I would say tier 2 is Marquee, Hakkasan, and where else? I would say...
Is Tao still a thing, or is that kind of like...
Tao is currently the oldest nightclub in the city. I really like their beach club. We'll do beach clubs after this. Tao Beach Club is killer, and the restaurant is really good. Their nightclub just needs a little bit of a facelift, and they don't book consistent talent.
Got it.
I think Dre's. Have you ever been to Dre's?
No, I've never been there.
So Dre's is like the one nightclub that's not like anything else here. So everywhere in Las Vegas, especially properties ran by Tao Group, is most of the time collared shirt required. It's very prim and proper, and they run the door very strict. Dre's is an entirely hip hop venue. So when what was just here? Super Bowl, draft, All-Star Weekend. You have like Rick Ross, Lil Baby, Gucci Mane. That's where those artists perform. So when you go into Dre's, or when you go into a regular nightclub, XS, it's kind of like white collar. Like everybody's very fancy. It's upscale. Right. Everybody's in their collared shirt. You got a sports coat on. You go to Dre's, everybody has their chains on. Right. Everybody's got their ripped jeans. Everybody's throwing money. I love Dre's. It's awesome. It's great. It's great.
It's like the shoehead crowd, right? It's like a lot of $500 and $1,500 and $5,000 Nikes.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to say $30,000 millionaires, but it's a lot of people throwing money, flexing. It's kind of like Magic City in Atlanta, like an Atlanta club. But I love Dre's. The problem with rappers in Las Vegas is that when they play at a nightclub, rappers usually have a fee for if they do like a 30-minute show, 60-minute show, a 90-minute show. So venues want to get away with saying, hey, we have Rick Ross here, but paying the least amount. So they'll pay a
30-minute
show. So if you think, right, let's say the doors open at Dre's at 10:30, and Rick Ross, so every DJ in Vegas will come on at 1 o'clock. Rick Ross goes on at 1 and he finishes at 1:30. Nobody's going to stay after the club because Rick Ross already performed. So now the club's empty by 1:30. So what the clubs do is they'll hold Rick Ross to play at 2:30. So he'll play from 2:30 to 3. So in that time, everybody's buying drinks. Everybody's spending their money at the bar. So by the time he comes on, he plays his 20, 30 minutes and leaves. It's already 3 a.m. The club is closed.
Yeah.
Well, this is good information to know. If you're a girl and you're in heels and you show up at 11:30 or 12, you're going to wait from 11 to 12 to 1 to 2 to 2:30 for your favorite artist to come on. And by that time, if you've been standing all night, it's tough. It's hard. It's hard to keep a consistent buzz for that long.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Without just going over the edge.
Exactly. So that's why I always recommend seeing DJs, because they'll come on at 1 o'clock, which is a reasonable time. If the doors open at 10:30, let's say you get there at 11 or 12, have a couple drinks, get your buzz, and they'll play for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Which is great. So they'll play from 1 to 3. Boom, they're off, you go home. So sometimes with Dre's, I love Dre's. I love the atmosphere. It's unlike anything else here, but it's just tough sometimes because you have to wait so long.
Yeah.
You know?
So the most pissed off I've ever been, probably in my life, is when I was first married. My wife was not yet pregnant. So it was we weren't even married yet. It was me, her, a bunch of her cousins came into town. We all stayed at the Venetian and we went to, I think it was Excess. Is that the one by the waterfall?
Correct.
Yeah. All right. We went to
Intrigue.
Okay. We went to this fucking club for New Year's Eve, right? And we spent I think there was 10 of us. So we're like, all right, we'll all drop $800 and we'll spend $8,000 for a table. But it's a Bruno Mars concert. It was advertised everywhere as a New Year's Eve Bruno Mars concert. You know, you're going to get 2 hours of DJ and then 2 hours of Bruno and Mars. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. Great music. It's going to be fun. So we show up. It was way over capacity. I can't believe this fire marshal didn't shut it down. Our waitress, her only goal in life was to get on stage to meet Bruno Mars. So she was a bitch. The service was horrible. That's awful. Then about 1:30 in the morning, right? So they kind of drop their fake ball. We all rah. Everybody's, Bruno's going to come on right at 12:01. He comes on at 1:30 and the promoter knew they had a problem, right? Because Bruno was blitz stoned out of his mind. The promoter comes up and he says, hey, okay, we're going to bring out Bruno. I just want to remind you that all of your tickets says a New Year's Eve ball hosted by Bruno Mars, not a concert like all the flyers say. He came out and lip synced to 2 of his songs and then exited stage left, falling off the stage. And as soon as that happened, I told my wife, I'm like, we're getting the fuck out of here. Sure enough, half an hour later, there was a riot in the club because everybody was so pissed. They were drunk. It was at capacity. It took, 35 minutes to get to the bathroom and back because there were so many people. And Bruno just shit the bed, didn't perform any songs. And I told my wife's like, why do you want to go? I'm like, I guarantee you, there's going to be fights here in the next 20 minutes. So we pieced out, and then we saw on the news the next morning, I think somebody got stabbed or something. It was bad. So that was the most pissed off I was. I will never see an artist again at a club. I'll only see DJs.
So if you look at flyers, luckily Las Vegas doesn't have this problem as much anymore. Hosted by is usually in LA or Atlanta thing. If you're seeing a DJ, it will usually say DJ set, sounds by, live performance by.
Yep.
If you're seeing an artist, it will say live performance. So if it says hosted by, they're not entitled to perform. They're entitled to have the spotlight be put on them get the microphone and say,
thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming. Everybody put your hands up. Let's have a drink. That's what they're entitled to do if they're hosting. But if you want to see an artist, you want to see a live performance.
Right.
That's what you want to see. I couldn't care less about what table you're at, what you're drinking. If I want to go to a club to see an artist, I would like them to perform.
Right.
That's the goal.
Got it.
Hopefully.
All right. So what are the places to avoid, man? We've got your tier 1, Zouk, Omni XS, then tier 2, kind of Marquee, Hakkasan, a couple other places. Oh, let's do beach clubs.
Okay.
Obviously, I've been to the Encore Beach Club. It's sick, dude.
It's huge.
It's insane.
It's huge.
So Encore Beach Club, and then I'm guessing Marquee does a beach club?
Yes. So I would say the top 3, Marquee is great. Encore Beach Club has been the number 1 long-standing. Its closest rival right now, I would say, is Tao Beach. Tao Beach is killing it. They just opened up last year, and they went hip-hop on Sundays, which is a great choice. They used to have Lil Jon, Ludacris, DJ Mustard. It was awesome. Hip-hop isn't really huge here in Las Vegas. You have Daylight, and then you have, in terms of day clubs, Daylight, and then you have Tao Beach Sundays, and then obviously you have Dre's, but that's separate. I really enjoy Tao Beach, Encore, Marquee, IU is good. honestly, if you're not from anywhere here, excuse me, if you're not from Las Vegas, you don't day club a lot. Anywhere you go is going to be a great time. These places, I think, are the best of the best. It's
right.
The highest quality girls, the most A-list talent, the most beautiful setup, just the entire production, how the venue is ran. There are some clubs here where like the day club, like sometimes getting into Marquee. So you've been to the Cosmo before.
Yeah.
Marquee is on level 2 and it's in the middle of it's in the middle of the busiest part of the hotel.
Right.
So if you're a hotel guest and not going to Marquee and it's Saturday from 11 to 2, it's a pain walking through there. If you're trying to get in, you don't know where the signs are, the entrance is over here, but the line is around over here. You know, places like Encore, they have a separate line. It's down. They do it in the ballrooms. It's super easy. So there's that. But honestly, those 3 I think are great. You're not gonna have a bad time really anywhere.
Yeah.
Most of the time, Las Vegas is a talent-driven industry. So people follow talent. If you put a resident DJ at Omnia and you put Tiesto to play in the desert and he's gonna drop the coordinates day of, and you got to drive out to the desert to see him, everybody's going to go to the desert.
Yeah.
So it's
if Tiesto plays at the Palms will be the hottest day club in Vegas.
Exactly. So it all follows. Everybody follows the talent. So and the best talent and the best girls are at Encore, Tao Beach, Marquee, I would say.
Fascinating, man. What are the questions I forgot to ask you as far as like things that we need to know about the nightclub scene or some insider tricks, hacks, tips? Like if you were telling your bros like, hey man, do this, don't do that, do this. What are the things we forgot to ask you?
Make sure if you're going to do a day club and the nightclub in the same day, you do not plan anything in between because, like I said earlier, if you get home at 5:30, 6 o'clock, waking up, showering, changing, going to dinner, and then going to a nightclub is not feasible.
Right.
So if you want to do a nightclub or a show, pick one. I would do day club, go home, nap, and then you can see your show. Maybe if you want to do your show, and then you can come back to your hotel bar, have a couple of drinks at the lounge. But if you're gonna double dip, you're stretching yourself way too thin by doing 3 things in one day.
Yeah,
I would say that. I would say another big thing is travel with people who have the same budget as you. So a big problem.
That's a big one.
So for example, college groups, right? You have a group of college girls coming out. Somebody's parents has a lot of money. They give them a lot of money. Somebody's, in college, they're working a minimum job. There's nothing wrong with either. And then you have your girl who likes to go to Nobu for dinner. And then you have your girl who likes to go to Raising Cane's for dinner. Right. I enjoy both venues, but you're like, all right, let's make reservations. And then one girl's like, all right, let's go to Nobu. And she's like, well, I can't pay for Nobu. And then it's like, well, you either pay for her, which is a little bit ridiculous, or you don't go and you don't have a Nobu back home where you live. And now it's tough. Or the bottle service thing. Let's say you have 10 people, 5 people want to throw in on it and the other 5 don't. So now what do? Do you just all go GA? Do 5 people pay for another person each themselves? It gets kind of hairy. Hotels. Some people like to stay at the Wynn. Some people like to stay at the Circus. So it's hard. So I just recommend, I see a lot of people go on girls' trips to Miami and Vegas and they end up becoming no longer friends.
Right.
Money is the number one thing. Right. And I stress that enough. I know it sounds rudimentary, but I think that's really important. And if you're going on a bachelor trip, spend some money. Hopefully you only have to do it once. Right. And you want it to be right. When you think of Las Vegas and you think of the VIP experience surrounded by the girls, the limo, the champagne, the nice steak, it's not cheap. You know what I mean? So if you have that idea and you want to fulfill it, you're going to have to spend some money. A group of all guys, you're the prime demographic to spend money when you come to a club. Yeah. Nobody's going to let you in for free. Right. So if you're going to do it, you might as well do it the right way. Yeah. You know what I mean? So plan ahead. If you're going to do it for an A1 guys trip, I recommend a nice dinner, 1 day club, 1 night club, 1 strip club. If you have time, you can do an activity that you don't have back home, racing expensive cars, shooting guns. But those 4 things, I always recommend that you do your nice dinner the first night, because if you get it on Friday and you go out Saturday day, Saturday night, Sunday day, and you guys want to do a nice dinner Sunday night, someone's going to get lost, someone's going to get arrested, somebody's going to be intoxicated. It's going to be a mess. Yeah. So when you have everybody sober, somewhat sober, ready for the weekend, you do your nice dinner first, you have your kumbaya, and then things kind of get crazy. Because if you have your crazy weekend, you feel bloated, you're hungover, you don't want to go eat a nice dinner. You know what I mean?
Probably half the people aren't going to remember it anyway.
Exactly. So do it first. I'm trying to think of girls trips. Go with people that you enjoy. Another thing is there is such a thing as too many people going on a Vegas trip. I know it happens a lot in college. Like you have your winter formal or you have your spring formal and you have 150, 200 people. that's a lot. If you have 20 to 30 people, can you imagine trying to find a hot spot that's going to seat 30 people on a dinner reservation without a table minimum or without a spend agreement? It's hard.
Dude, just getting 4 guys together that can be at the same place at 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m. is hard.
Exactly.
30 girls, it's like impossible.
And if you don't have your rooms, if you're traveling with a large amount of people, and if you don't have your rooms blocked together, you guys are staying at different hotels, coordinating that is really hard. So stay at the same hotel and give yourself some leeway. And it's like, all right, it's Saturday night. You have a different DJ playing at each 5 clubs, and some people want to go to different clubs, so now you're going to have to split up. Or if you want to buy a table, you should probably stay together. You know what I mean? So I think the perfect Vegas group is like 5 to 8 people. Yeah. Because that's good enough where it's not just you and one other person. It's good enough for expensive experiences. You can all pay for it. And it's good enough where you have like a squad. You guys wake up, you all go to your fun brunch the next day. You have a squad, and you can spend some time alone if you get your separate hotel rooms, whether it's couples, friends,
right?
You know, a mixed group. I think like 5 to 8, 5 to 9 is a good number.
Love it, man. Let's close with 3 questions. One is, what's the craziest shit you've seen at a club? Either spending wise, or a celebrity you've met, or just like the nuttiest, like, I can't believe I work here. I can't believe I saw that.
The craziest thing I think is everything tied together. So you have the initial anticipation of it's Friday afternoon, it's 5 to 6 o'clock. Everybody's finishing the day club, and then like 7 to 8 o'clock, everybody's like starting to wake up, and then my phone is beeping, and then it's a holiday weekend. It's Saturday night. There's so many people. Just the idea that everybody's getting dressed up, everybody's coming here. I show up to the door. I'm helping my groups get in, and then you have chain smokers, Tiesto, come on. The inside is full. The outside is full. There's 4,000 to 5,000 people. There's people in the pool. You walk by the tables. They're spending. You see these big bottles of Dom Perignon, $30,000, $40,000, and it's just like, what the hell is going on? And it's not for a couple minutes. It goes all night. And when you go to really exclusive places like the stage at the Wynn, you can see famous people left and right. When the Weeknd has his concert, had his concert, he was here last weekend, you know, chilling by the stage. It's things like that where you can't get it anywhere else. Right. You have the mix of everything. You have the craziness of a party. You have a world famous DJ spinning. You have famous people here. You have hot girls dancing on top of tables here. It's just like, what do I look at? What
sensory overload, right?
Sensory overload on a 1,000. And when you go to these huge clubs, they got the chandelier, they got the lights, they got the smoke, and it's just like, what is going on? One of the first like real semblances of money I saw, I was just chilling, I was just waiting there, and a security guard came up and tapped me on the back. And I turned around, he's like, hey, we have a presentation coming through. It was on a money truck. So they get up on the cocktail waitress is coming on the money truck, and they're holding the biggest bottle of Dom P I've ever seen in my life. I was like, what the hell is that? So I turned, and it was one of my coworkers' birthdays. And I was like, I look over at the menu, and this was a $30,000 bottle of champagne. And I went over to him, and I was like, look, I love you, but tell me you didn't just spend $30,000 on that. And he was like, no, one of my clients said he just did it to thank me. Happy birthday. I was like, you're telling me he just bought you a $30,000 bottle of champagne, you know? And this was like a Thursday. It was like we were celebrating his birthday, so it wasn't on a crazy night. And I was like, he just gave you this $30,000 bottle of champagne?
Like, could he have just Venmo'd me 30 G's?
Yeah, and he was like, yeah. I was like, okay, and that's kind of like what you see. Obviously, it's more normalized, and the longer you're in nightlife, the more you see it. But just the money that people spend, and just the combination of the girls, the lights, the music, the famous people, all in one. You can't get it anywhere else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's nothing like it. It's crazy.
How much bandwidth do you think you have to do this?
That's another thing. So when you work in
nightlife,
burnout
rate has to be insane,
huge.
Right?
So I just turned 23 on last Tuesday. So I got into the industry towards the end of my 21 year span. That's a really good question. I don't know. Nightlife is one of the things where it's like, oh, I'm going to get in it, and then I'll do it for a little bit, then I'll get out. But people kind of realize that the money that you can make and the connections and the lifestyle that you can have is very, very enticing, and it's hard to get out of. But it is very high stress. I know it looks like all we do is just like party, and we're
it's like any other commission job.
It's like any other commission job. But imagine you have, you work at a car dealership. You have, your 10 to 15 clients a day. You're selling a couple cars. It's Saturday night. I'm expecting 100 to 300 people myself. All of my other promoters are expecting 100 to 300 people. We got to manage with the influence of alcohol that everybody's having,
Right.
trying to get all my people inside. I'm trying to make sure that my big spenders are having a good time. You know, the table next to them, somebody threw up. You got to handle this. All this is happening in real time, and it's really fast. So it's very high stress. And like any intense commission job, you know, when you don't hit your numbers, it sucks.
Yeah.
My goal, probably another 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
My sister, she is the like head of VIP services at Caesar's Palace.
Oh, cool.
So our goal is to kind of run a property together. So she really likes Barcelona. She really likes Spain. My sister's the only person that I know works harder than me, besides my parents. So we're either going to go to Spain or Miami, and hopefully we can run a venue together.
That'd be awesome.
And then maybe we'll retire one day and I'll open a jiu-jitsu school and we can ride off into the sunset. But it's very high stress, and like my weekends are always busy.
Yeah.
I'm normalized to it now. So when I leave nightlife, it's going to be really weird. It's going to be like Saturday night and my phone's going to be dry and I'm going to be like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
You know,
you're like,
is my phone working?
Wait, you're like looking at your girlfriend. You're like, we're just going to watch Netflix.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm not meeting Floyd Mayweather tonight. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's got to be interesting. It's like I think about professional athletes, musicians, or whatever, where they like peak and they have these experiences in their 20s. It's like, how boring does 30 and 40 feel? Because like in most other jobs, professions, like you grow, you get better, you get
Right.
wealthier, whatever. But in a lot of these entertainment jobs, you might make the bulk of your net worth, you know, hopefully you invest well. You might make the bulk of that in your 20s. You might have the bulk of like your best experiences in your 20s.
You're 100% correct. But the way I look at it is that I hope I do the job to the best of my ability and I have as many experiences as I need. And one day I can look and I say, I've had all my fun. This has been the craziest 10 years of my life and I'm ready to go into something else.
Yeah.
You know, because
Now I can take the kids to Boy Scouts or
yeah,
whatever.
exactly. Because if I leave next year, I'm like, man, I have, 15,000 contacts in my phone. You know, I had the rest of my 20s. I don't have any obligations. I don't have a wife, kids, or debt.
Now's the time to do it.
Now's the time to hustle and go crazy. And it's not like I'm like spending, this is my job, so I'm making money.
Right.
So my goal is to do it until I don't want to do it anymore. And the goal is working at such a prestigious hotel like the Wynn. I can go to management, I can go to the higher ups and say, look, I've killed it for the last 8 to 10 years I've been here. I want to switch into group sales. Now I want to book conventions. I want to book their room blocks, or I want to be a bartender at Casa Playa and just talk to cool people all day.
Yeah.
You know, or foray into something that my nightlife experience can help me get into, but that's not as high stress.
Yeah. You should find all the other people that are about to burn out and just buy their book of business.
Exactly.
Be like, hey, can I have your
people do that.
contacts?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll pay you $100,000 over 5 years. You just give me all your contacts.
Exactly.
So, 2 last questions, man.
Sure.
We're filming this. We're gonna have this come out right before the party season kicks off, like March of 2023.
Yeah.
What are you most looking forward to this year? Like what's on your list, to-do list, bucket list, growth list, business list? Like, what are you looking forward to?
The number one thing and the best part about this job is meeting people.
Yeah.
I get to meet people from all different walks of life. They know so much about me because most people follow me on Instagram and they know what I do, but I don't know what they do. So when I get to meet people and when they tell me about what they do and I get to make connections in places and people that I never would have had without the job, that's by far the coolest thing.
That's awesome, man.
And
if you keep that Rolodex fresh and you stay in touch, one day you'll just be able to email or text, 400 Fortune 5,000 business owners and be like, hey, man, I'm world class at hospitality and customer service. What do you got for me?
Yep.
Like, I'm ready to not be up till 4 o'clock in the morning every day.
100%. So meeting people is definitely one thing, and having one of a kind experiences and sharing it with people that I care about is another really good thing. I've always loved event planning. So when I can plan an event, everybody comes out, or when I'm promoting my events, everybody comes out and has a good time.
Yeah.
That's awesome for me. And just, I would say being on the forefront of nightlife in general, of working for a hotel that's so prestigious and that's so good at what they do, and I get to be a part of that, is awesome.
Yeah.
And just kind of like seeing where I can take myself and seeing how hard I can work and seeing the next steps that are possible, because right now, knock on wood, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that I can't do.
Yeah, especially if you can say you have a tenure at a place that's like world class, like the Wynn. You can decide, oh, you know what? I want to move back to Texas and live in Austin and run a nightclub there. Yeah. It's like, dude, that'll be fucking child's play for you compared to the stress of excess at the Wynn.
So that's the goal. I can look. I worked at, in my opinion, the best hotel in the world, one of the most prestigious hotels in the world. This is what I've done with this infrastructure. What do you have for me? And hopefully I'll be able to parlay that into something successful. That's the goal.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Last question, just because this is like one of my guilty pleasures. I'm like a movie junkie. What's your favorite movie and why?
Ooh, that's a really good question. My favorite movie. Wow, that's a good question. I want to say something. Sometimes I read children's books, so I would say maybe something like Toy Story.
Love that movie.
Or because a lot of times, or like Finding Nemo, Just Keep Swimming. I always replay that in my head because whenever I come to a block or whenever my sister and I are talking about things we could do, I just got to remember, like, especially now with social media, consistency is the name of the game. Just keep swimming, just keep swimming. And I love how children's movies and children's books can tell a life story in a simple way. And it's kind of like a metaphor for the analogy.
Yeah.
And there's so much like, it's childish, but it teaches you a lesson. I know that might be a cop-out answer.
No, I love it, man. Like in my top 10 is The Incredibles.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
like I remember getting halfway through that movie and like, oh, this doesn't feel like a cartoon. This feels like a real movie with character development and there's lessons being taught. And like, this is a real family dynamic they've developed with these cartoon characters. Same with Finding Nemo, man. When his mom gets whacked and then all the little babies get whacked, you're like, what the fuck? This is like Bambi's mom being shot.
Yeah.
You know, like I pretty sure I cried at the opening 10 minutes of Finding Nemo, right? You're just like, one day my mom's going to be dead. I love it, man. That's a great answer.
My number one favorite movie of all time is Night at the Roxbury. Duh. Because
did you break another windshield?
My favorite movie, obviously it has so much crossover with Nightlife because that whole scene of like two guys who can't get into a club. It's the most like dumb, stupid humor that I have relatability into my place of work. My dad always talks about how he likes watching shows like Mad Men or like those kind of shows because he works in corporate. Yeah. How they related to his life. And that's the movie that relates to my line of business.
That's
so
great,
I've shown that movie to so many people. Night at the Roxbury is definitely my favorite movie.
Whatever happened to the other guy? Because there was Will Ferrell and then there was his little sidekick. He's never done anything else. Like he fell off the radar after Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, he killed
I don't even
it,
know
though.
his name.
Night at the Roxbury. He killed it. He killed it, though. I like Saturday Night Fever, too.
Chris Kattan.
That's right.
He just didn't make it, man. Poor guy. Just couldn't get anything else going. Cool, man. Well, Dante Valle LV on Instagram. Right. I already know. I wrote down 3 people I have to introduce to you that I know are coming to Vegas. One for a bachelorette party. A couple other dudes that are coming. One who's got a casino host at the Wynn, but always has a hard time when he wants to, take his kids to the day club or whatever. So I'm gonna make a few introductions. And dude, I really appreciate you coming on after. Let's see, Memorial Day to Labor Day. So after September, October, we'll have you back on to hear about the crazy season and all the success you had this year.
Yeah. So one last message to everyone. First of all, thank you guys so much for listening. I feel very proud that you guys would actually listen. If you're still listening, thank you so much. The best way, like you said, get in contact with me. Just tell me when you're coming out. Usually about 2 to 3 months in advance. I make my own calendars for the weekend. You tell me when you're coming out. I send you the calendar and we get to planning. So that's the best way to do it. If you want to text me a couple of months out, great. If you want to text me the day of, great. Cool. If you're going to book a table, do it in advance. Guest list can wait until we get closer. If you guys have any questions, you just want to bug me, you need my opinion, you guys are more than welcome to message me on Instagram. I respond to every single direct message that I've gotten. If you don't get a response from me in like 4 or 5 days, just text me again. My phone number's in my bio. I'm here to help you guys. It's my job. It's what I love to do, and it's what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Dude, your Instagram's killing it, man. I love the educational videos. I feel like I'm learning something every day when that's the goal. I watch about.
That's the goal.
I'm like, I didn't know what the ratio was for a club and the like what the promoters are looking for. So kudos to you, man. And bro, I'll see you at Jiu-Jitsu.
Thank you so much. I'll see you.